The Arizona desert held many secrets, but none more lethal than Elena Martinez. In the quiet town of Sierra Vista, just miles from the Mexican border, she lived an unassuming life, a disabled veteran in a wheelchair who tended to her garden and kept to herself. The local cartel thought she would be an easy target. They would soon learn that some wounds make a warrior more dangerous, not less. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The setting sun painted the Huachuca Mountains in shades of amber and gold, casting long shadows across Elena's modest ranch house. The property sat on the outskirts of town, where paved roads gave way to dusty trails and the border between civilization and wilderness blurred. Her neighbors were few and far between, just the way she preferred it. To those who occasionally passed by, the sight was unremarkable. A single-story home with a well-maintained yard, a few desert plants, and a simple American flag flying proudly by the front door. Elena was in her mid-30s, though the lines around her eyes suggested someone who had seen far more than her years would indicate. Her dark hair was usually pulled back in a practical braid, and her sharp features held a quiet intensity that most people mistook for standoffishness. Her arms were visibly strong, developed from years of adapting to life in a wheelchair, but few realized just how much deadly precision those muscles contained. Before the wheelchair, Elena had been among the most elite operatives in the Marine Corps Forces Special Operations Command, MARSOC. Her specialty wasn't just combat, it was ghost operations, the kind of missions that never made it into any official record. She had been a shadow, moving through war zones and hostile territories with lethal efficiency. The wheelchair hadn't changed that. It had just forced her to become even more creative, more precise, more lethal. The incident that put her in the wheelchair happened 3 years ago, during what should have been a routine extraction in Venezuela. The mission had gone sideways when their position was compromised. Elena had managed to get her entire team out, but the explosion that followed shattered her spine. The doctors said she would never walk again. They didn't understand that walking had never been what made her dangerous. Now she had transformed her disability into an advantage. Her wheelchair was a masterpiece of military engineering, customized, with reinforced titanium frame, silent electric motor, and hidden compartments that housed an arsenal that would impress any special forces operator. The chair's electronic systems were state-of-the-art, featuring thermal imaging, motion sensors, and a heads-up display that kept her aware of her surroundings at all times. But it wasn't just about the equipment. Elena had spent the past 3 years refining her skills, adapting her combat techniques to her new reality. Her upper body strength had doubled, her aim had become even more precise, and her tactical thinking had sharpened to a razor's edge. She trained daily in a specially designed facility behind her house, maintaining the skills that had made her one of the most effective operators in the field. The local law enforcement knew her only as a decorated veteran who occasionally helped. With firearms training at the police academy, the townspeople saw her at the local diner or the grocery store and offered kind smiles tinged with pity. None of them knew that beneath that quiet exterior lay one of the most highly trained combat specialists in the world. That afternoon, as Elena finished her daily training routine, she received an alert on her secure phone. Her network of contacts along the border had picked up chatter about the Espada cartel's latest expansion plans. The cartel, led by the notorious Victor Ramirez, had been pushing north, taking over small towns and establishing new trafficking routes. They were known for their brutality, using fear and violence to maintain control. Elena had been tracking their movements for months, gathering intelligence and building a detailed picture of their operations. She knew it was only a matter of time before they reached Sierra Vista. The town's location made it a prime target, close to the border, minimal law enforcement presence, and enough legitimate business traffic to hide their activities. As she reviewed the latest intelligence reports, Elena's mind was already gaming out scenarios. The cartel would likely start with local businesses, demanding protection money and establishing their presence gradually. They would target the vulnerable, first using them as examples to frighten others into compliance. It was a pattern she had seen before and one she was determined to break. Sheriff David Cooper's face appeared on her secure tablet, his expression grim. "Elena, we've got trouble brewing. Cartel's been making moves in the neighboring counties, local PD's outgunned, and the feds are tied up with bigger operations along the border." "How close are they?" Elena asked, her voice calm but focused. "Too close. Had 3 businesses hit last week in Douglas. Protection racket stuff for now, but it's escalating. Got word they're eyeing Sierra Vista next." Elena's fingers drummed thoughtfully on her wheelchair's armrest. "They'll start testing the waters soon, probably send in a small crew to gauge resistance." "That's what I'm worried about," Cooper replied. "We're not equipped to handle this kind of threat. Most of my deputies have never dealt with cartel violence." "Then it's time they learned," Elena said, her tone hardening. "The cartel needs to understand that some towns aren't worth the trouble." As she ended the call, Elena moved to her computer system, pulling up satellite imagery of the area. Her screens showed thermal imaging of known cartel movement patterns, communication intercepts, and financial transactions that painted a clear picture of their expansion strategy. The Espada cartel was smart, well-organized, and ruthless, but they had one critical weakness. They consistently underestimated their opponents. Elena knew they would see her as just another vulnerable target, a disabled veteran living alone on the outskirts of town. That assumption would be their first mistake. She had spent years preparing for exactly this kind of threat, and her home was far more than the simple ranch house it appeared to be. The property was ringed with hidden sensors that could detect movement up to a mile away. Every approach was covered by concealed cameras with night vision and thermal imaging capabilities. The windows were bulletproof, the walls reinforced with Kevlar panels, and every room had multiple escape routes. It wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elena began her evening routine. She checked her security systems, verified her weapons were in order, and reviewed the latest intelligence updates. The quiet of the desert night was broken only by the distant howl of coyotes and the soft whir of her wheelchair's motors as she moved through her home. Her phone buzzed again, another alert from her border contacts. Cartel vehicles had been spotted moving north along the back roads, avoiding the main highways and border patrol checkpoints. They were coming, just as she had predicted. Elena felt a familiar calm settle over her, the same focused readiness that had served her well in countless operations. The cartel was about to learn a harsh lesson about appearances. They saw a woman in a wheelchair and assumed vulnerability. They would soon discover that some of the deadliest predators were the ones that seemed the least threatening. In her secured workshop, Elena began preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Her wheelchair's hidden compartments opened smoothly, revealing an array of specialized equipment. She checked each item methodically: combat knife with a carbon fiber blade, modified sidearm with custom grip, smoke grenades, and various other tools of her trade. Each piece was chosen and adapted specifically for her unique fighting style. The workshop itself was a testament to her adaptability. Every tool, every weapon, every piece of equipment had been modified to work seamlessly with her capabilities. The workbenches were at the perfect height for her wheelchair, and automated systems helped her maintain and modify her gear. This wasn't just a workshop, it was a warrior's forge, where she continuously refined her abilities and equipment. As she worked, Eleanor reflected on the path that had brought her here. The explosion that had taken her legs hadn't broken her. It had forced her to evolve. Where others saw limitation, she had found new opportunities. Her wheelchair wasn't a symbol of weakness. It was a platform for strength, a mobile command center that gave her capabilities few would suspect. The next morning, Elena received word that Cartel scouts had been seen in town. They were doing preliminary surveillance, mapping out potential targets and gauging local response capabilities. She knew their playbook. They would start small, testing the waters with minor intimidation before escalating to violence. It was time to send them a message they couldn't ignore. She headed into town, her wheelchair humming quietly as she made her way down the main street. To anyone watching, she was just another local resident going about their business. They wouldn't notice the way her eyes constantly scanned her surroundings, or the fact that every move she made was calculated and precise. They wouldn't know that beneath her casual exterior, she was mapping out angles of fire, identifying potential cover, and noting every detail that could become tactically relevant. The Cartel scouts were easy to spot if you knew what to look for. Two men in a black SUV, trying too hard to look casual as they cruised the streets. Elena could see the subtle bulge of concealed weapons under their jackets, the way they maintained constant radio contact, the practiced manner in which they noted security cameras and police patrol patterns. She allowed herself a small smile. They were professionals, but they were also predictable. Their arrogance made them careless, and carelessness could be exploited. As she waited for her coffee at the local diner, she was already formulating a plan. The Cartel was about to discover that they weren't the only ones who knew how to send a message. Sheriff Cooper joined her at her table, sliding into the booth with a concerned expression. "They're getting bolder," he said quietly. "Just got word they roughed up a store owner in Douglas when he refused to pay protection money, broke both his arms." Elena nodded, her expression unchanged. "They're establishing their pattern. Makes them predictable." "You thinking of doing something?" Cooper asked, knowing better than to ask for details. "Let's just say they're about to learn that some targets bite back." The Cartel made their first move at sunset. 3 black SUVs rolled into Sierra Vista, their engines purring like predatory cats as they cruised down Main Street. Elena watched from her modified surveillance system as they split up, each vehicle taking a different section of town. She had expected this. The systematic approach of criminals who thought they held all the cards. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The lead vehicle stopped outside Martinez's hardware store, one of the oldest businesses in town. Through her high-resolution cameras, Elena observed 4 men exit the SUV. Their leader, a tall man with a scorpion tattoo on his neck, moved with the confident stride of someone used to being feared. What caught her attention wasn't his swagger, but the military precision in his movement. This wasn't just a cartel thug. He was trained, probably ex-military himself. Elena's fingers flew across her wheelchair's built-in tactical display, running facial recognition. The match came back quickly. Marco Delgado, former Mexican Special Forces, now one of the Espada cartel's top enforcers. His presence confirmed. This wasn't just another protection racket. The cartel was making a serious play for Sierra Vista. Inside the hardware store, Old Man Martinez stood his ground as the cartel members entered. Elena had known him for years, a Vietnam veteran who had built his business from nothing. Through her surveillance feed, she could hear the conversation clearly. "Nice store you have here," Delgado said, his voice smooth but threatening. "Would be a shame if something happened to it." Martinez didn't flinch. "I've dealt with better men than you in Vietnam. You don't scare me." Delgado's smile turned cold. "Vietnam? That was a different kind of war, old man. This is business." He nodded to one of his men, who began methodically smashing the store's inventory. Elena's jaw tightened as she watched. But she didn't move. Not yet. This was about more than just stopping one act of violence. She needed to understand their pattern, their full plan. The cartel wasn't just targeting random businesses. They were selecting places that would send a message. As Delgado's men continued their destruction, Elena noticed something interesting. They were careful about which items they destroyed, focusing on the most expensive inventory while leaving cheaper items untouched. This wasn't random vandalism. It was calculated financial warfare. Her tactical display highlighted another cartel team entering Rosa's diner 3 blocks away. The same pattern: systematic intimidation, careful destruction of property. They were building a climate of fear, showing the town that resistance would be costly. Elena's mind raced through scenarios, calculating angles and timing. She had the equipment and skills to stop these attacks, but that would only treat the symptom. To truly protect Sierra Vista, she needed to cut off the head of the snake. That meant finding their local base of operations and understanding their command structure. Her surveillance system picked up chatter from the cartel's radio frequencies. They were speaking in code, but Elena's military experience helped her decrypt their meaning. They were reporting to someone they called El Doctor, likely their local commander, coordinating the operation from somewhere nearby. As she monitored the situation, Elena's hands moved to a hidden compartment in her wheelchair, retrieving a small device. It was a prototype she had developed, a tracker that could be attached to vehicles without triggering standard detection systems. If she could plant it on one of their SUVs, it would lead her to their base. The hardware store attack was winding down. Delgado left Martinez with a warning: pay protection money by the end of the week, or the next visit would be much worse. As the cartel members returned to their vehicle, Elena made her move. She rolled out of her concealed observation post, timing her movement to appear casual. To anyone watching, she was just another disabled veteran going about her evening routine. The cartel SUV passed within feet of her, and with a motion, practiced thousands of times, she flicked the tracker underneath the vehicle. The device activated immediately, sending encrypted location data to her system. But Elena didn't return home right away. That would have been suspicious. Instead, she continued down the street, stopping to help Martinez clean up his store. "You shouldn't have to deal with this," she told him, helping to sweep up broken glass. Martinez looked at her with knowing eyes. "Neither should you, Elena. I've seen enough war to recognize a soldier when I meet one. Whatever you're planning, be careful." Elena nodded, appreciating that he didn't ask questions. Veterans understood some battles needed to be fought in silence. As night fell, Elena tracked the cartel's movements through her system. The SUVs converged on a location 10 miles outside town, an abandoned ranch that had been sold at auction months ago. Satellite imagery showed recent construction, new security systems, and regular vehicle traffic. She had found their base, but before she could plan her next move, her phone buzzed with an urgent message. It was from Sarah Chen, a teenage girl, who helped out at the local community center where Elena volunteered, teaching self-defense classes to people with disabilities. The message was brief but terrifying. "They came to my house, said Dad needs to pay or they'll take me instead." Elena's blood ran cold. Targeting children crossed a line that demanded immediate response. The cartel needed to learn that some lines couldn't be crossed without consequences. She pulled up Sarah's address on her tactical display, overlaying it with thermal imaging from satellite feeds. 2 men were posted outside the Chen residence, while 3 more waited in a car down the street. This changed everything. Elena had been planning a systematic dismantling of the cartel's operations, but now she needed to send an immediate message. She opened another compartment in her wheelchair, retrieving a specialized piece of equipment, a neural disruptor of her own design. It would incapacitate the targets without causing permanent damage, perfect for a situation requiring precision rather than lethal force. As she approached the Chen residence, Elena activated her wheelchair's stealth systems. The electric motor was already nearly silent, but now special dampeners absorbed any mechanical noise. Her wheels, designed for both urban and rough terrain, moved smoothly across the pavement. The first 2 cartel members never saw her coming. The neural disruptor fired 2 charged darts, delivering an electromagnetic pulse that disrupted their nervous systems. They dropped silently, their bodies twitching as their muscles refused to respond to commands. The team in the car was more alert, but they made the mistake of underestimating her. As they scrambled out of the vehicle, reaching for weapons, Elena was already moving. Her wheelchair's enhanced mobility systems allowed her to pivot and accelerate, faster than they expected. The first man went down from another neural dart, while the second found himself locked in a grip that utilized Elena's upper body strength and martial arts training. The third man managed to draw his weapon, but Elena had trained for exactly this scenario. With a quick movement, she activated her wheelchair's defensive shields, lightweight but bulletproof panels that deployed from the sides. The man's shots deflected harmlessly as Elena closed the distance. What followed was a demonstration of how Elena had adapted her combat training to her new reality. Using her wheelchair's momentum and her enhanced upper body strength, she executed a series of strikes that left the man unconscious before he could radio for backup. Elena secured the attackers efficiently, using reinforced zip ties and disabling their communications. Then she entered the Chen house, where she found Sarah and her family huddled in fear. "You're safe now," Elena assured them, her voice calm and steady. "But you need to pack quickly. I have a safe house prepared for situations like this." As she helped the Chen family prepare to move, Elena's tactical display showed increased cartel activity around town. They would soon discover their missing team, and their response would be violent. But that was exactly what Elena wanted. She needed them angry, needed them to make mistakes. She escorted the Chens to a secure location, a property she had prepared with multiple layers of security and escape routes. As she helped them settle in, Sarah hugged her tightly. "I always knew you were more than just our self-defense teacher," the teenager said. "You're like a superhero." Elena smiled, but her mind was already moving to the next phase of her plan. The cartel would be looking for whoever had taken down their team. They would never suspect a woman in a wheelchair, and that assumption would be their downfall. Back at her ranch, Elena began preparing for what she knew would come next. The cartel wouldn't take this interference lightly. They would send more men, better equipped and more aggressive. But Elena had spent years preparing for exactly this kind of escalation. She moved through her home, activating additional security measures. Hidden cameras and sensors came online, creating a web of surveillance that would alert her to any approach. Her wheelchair's tactical systems integrated with the house's security network, giving her complete situational awareness. As she worked, Elena reflected on how her disability had forced her to become more innovative, more strategic. In her previous life as a marine operator, she had relied heavily on physical mobility. Now she had learned to turn her wheelchair into an advantage, using technology and tactical thinking to overcome any limitation. The cartel would expect a frontal assault, a direct confrontation. Instead, Elena would show them a new kind of warfare, one where traditional advantages meant nothing and assumptions about disability became fatal weaknesses. Sierra Vista would become a lesson in why you should never underestimate an opponent, regardless of their apparent limitations. Her computer system alerted her to increased chatter on cartel frequencies. They had found their unconscious men, and as expected, they were furious. Elena allowed herself a small smile as she continued her preparations. The real battle was about to begin, and she was ready to show the cartel exactly what kind of warrior they were dealing with. The desert night erupted into chaos as the cartel launched their retaliation. But Elena had been waiting, her tactical systems tracking their approach from miles away. 3 convoys of vehicles, heavily armed men, all converging on Sierra Vista with deadly intent. Their radio chatter crackled with anger and wounded pride. Someone had dared to challenge their authority, and they meant to make an example. What they didn't know was that Elena had transformed the entire town into a carefully prepared battleground. For months, she had been installing hidden security measures, training local veterans in covert defensive tactics, and establishing a network of safe houses. Sierra Vista wasn't just her home, it was her fortress. Elena's wheelchair hummed quietly as she moved through her command center, multiple screens displaying thermal imaging of the approaching forces. She opened a secure channel to Sheriff Cooper. "They're coming in heavy, David. Time to activate Protocol Echo." Throughout the town, lights began systematically shutting down. Not a blackout, something more strategic. Key intersections remained, lit while others darkened, creating a maze of visibility that would force the cartel to move exactly where Elena wanted them. In her earpiece, she could hear her network of veterans taking position. Many were disabled themselves, former soldiers who had found purpose in protecting their community. Elena had trained them personally, showing them how to turn their supposed limitations into tactical advantages. A former army ranger who had lost both legs now operated a sophisticated drone network from his modified truck. A retired Air Force pilot with a prosthetic arm controlled the town's emergency response systems. "Remember," Elena broadcast to her, "team, they're expecting traditional resistance. Show them what adaptive warfare looks like." The first cartel vehicles entered the town's outskirts, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Elena watched through her tactical display as they split into smaller groups, attempting to cover more ground. A costly mistake. She activated her chair's enhanced mobility systems and moved to her first intercept point. From a concealed position, Elena observed Marco Delgado organizing his men. The cartel enforcer was smart. She had to give him that. He had positioned shooters on rooftops and was maintaining clear lines of communication. But he was fighting the last war, using conventional tactics against an unconventional opponent. Elena's fingers danced across her wheelchair's control panel, activating the first phase of her defense. Throughout the town, hidden speakers began broadcasting a low-frequency sound just below the threshold of conscious hearing. The psychological effects would be subtle at first. Increased anxiety, difficulty concentrating, mild disorientation. One of the cartel's rooftop observers suddenly lost his balance. The combination of sound and carefully manipulated lighting making it impossible to maintain his position. Before he could recover, a drone, piloted by Elena's veteran network, swooped, firing a specialized net that entangled him completely. Delgado's voice crackled over the radio, demanding reports from his scattered teams. The responses were confused, disoriented. Some reported seeing shadows moving at impossible speeds. Others claimed their weapons were malfunctioning. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Her electromagnetic disruption systems were working perfectly. But this was just the beginning. Elena had learned during her military career that true victory wasn't just about overwhelming force. It was about breaking the enemy's will to fight. She activated her chair's combat systems and moved into position for a direct confrontation. A group of cartel members had cornered several townspeople in the local diner. They weren't expecting a wheelchair to crash through the window. Specialized. Shields deployed. Neural disruptors firing with surgical precision. Elena's enhanced upper body strength and years of adapted combat training turned her wheelchair into a weapon of devastating efficiency. In the chaos, one of the cartel members managed to get off a shot. The bullet pinged harmlessly off Elena's chair's armor, and before he could fire again, she had him in a joint lock that utilized his own momentum against him. The other attackers fell quickly, taken down by combinations of traditional martial arts and Elena's innovative fighting style. "Who are you?" one of them gasped as she secured his restraints. "Someone who proves that disabilities don't make us weaker," Elena replied. "They make us adapt and become stronger." Across town, her veteran network was implementing their own specialized tactics. The former Rangers' drones herded cartel members into prepared zones where the terrain heavily favored defenders with intimate knowledge of the area. The Air Force veteran used his expertise with prosthetics to deploy automated defense systems that could distinguish friend from foe. Elena's tactical display showed the cartel forces falling into disarray. Their traditional command structure was breaking down in the face of an enemy they couldn't effectively target. Her wheelchair's enhanced mobility allowed her to appear and disappear at will, striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before they could respond. But Marco Delgado wasn't finished. Elena intercepted his communications, ordering his remaining forces to converge on the town hall. He was adapting, trying to establish a defensive position from which to regroup. It was a solid tactical decision, except it was exactly what Elena had anticipated. As the cartel forces concentrated their position, Elena activated the next phase of her defense. The town hall's architectural features, subtly modified over months of preparation, suddenly transformed the building into a technological maze. Electronic locks engaged, corridors became dead ends, and sophisticated holographic projections made it impossible to maintain tactical cohesion. "You're fighting ghosts!" Delgado shouted to his men as another team went dark. "Find them!" Elena's voice came over the building's communication system, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. "You assumed that someone in a wheelchair couldn't be a threat. That disability meant weakness. Time to learn how wrong you are." She moved through the building's service corridors, her wheelchair's specialized systems allowing her to navigate spaces that would have been challenging even for someone on foot. Each movement was precise, calculated, the result of countless hours of training and preparation. The cartel members were growing desperate, firing at shadows and jumping at every sound. Elena's psychological warfare was taking its toll, but she wasn't just trying to defeat them. She was teaching them a lesson about underestimating people with disabilities. Using her chair's enhanced capabilities, Elena positioned herself above the main hall where Delgado had established his command post. Through her tactical display, she could see the stress fracturing his team's discipline. Some were arguing for retreat, others demanding more aggressive action. Delgado himself stood in the center, trying to maintain control of a situation that had spiraled far beyond his experience. Elena triggered her chair's rappelling system, a modification that allowed her to execute controlled descents. She dropped into the hall like an avenging angel, neural disruptors firing with lethal accuracy. Before Delgado's men could react, half of them were incapacitated. "Impossible," Delgado breathed, finally seeing her clearly. "You're the one who's been doing this? A woman in a wheelchair?" "This wheelchair," Elena said, as she smoothly avoided his desperate shot, "isn't my weakness. It's the reason I became stronger, smarter, more adaptable than you could imagine." The fight that followed was a demonstration of everything Elena had learned about turning perceived limitations into strengths. Her wheelchair's momentum became a weapon, its specialized systems allowing her to outmaneuver opponents who thought they had the advantage of mobility. Years of adapted combat training let her use her upper body strength in ways that caught them completely off guard. One by one, Delgado's remaining men fell, some to Elena's neural disruptors, others to holds and strikes that utilized their own momentum against them. Through it all, Elena moved with a fluid grace that turned her wheelchair into an extension of her combat abilities. Finally, only Delgado remained. The cartel enforcer had fought well, but he was facing something beyond his experience. A warrior who had turned disability into an asset, who had transformed supposed limitations into tactical advantages. "The cartel will keep coming," he warned, as Elena secured his restraints. "This isn't over." "You're right," Elena agreed, her voice firm. "This is just the beginning. Go back to your bosses. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them about the woman in the wheelchair who took down their entire operation. Let them know that Sierra Vista is protected by people they underestimated, people who turned their disabilities into strength." As police sirens approached and her veteran network secured the remaining cartel members, Elena allowed herself a moment of reflection. Tonight wasn't just about defending her town. It was about showing the world that disability didn't equal weakness. Every adaptation she had made, every innovation she had created, had made her more formidable than she had been before. The sun was rising over the desert as Elena finally headed home, her wheelchair moving smoothly through streets now free of cartel presence. She had sent a message that would resonate far beyond Sierra Vista. Never assume that someone's disabilities make them vulnerable. Sometimes they make them unstoppable. The aftermath of Elena's victory brought new challenges. While the cartel's initial force had been defeated, she knew better than to expect them to simply retreat. Her tactical displays showed increased activity across the border. The Espada cartel was mobilizing something bigger. This time, they weren't just sending in forces, they were preparing for war. Elena's surveillance network detected encrypted communications flowing between cartel facilities. They were adapting their strategy, bringing in specialists and military-grade equipment. The message was clear. They wouldn't underestimate her again. But Elena had anticipated this. While they had been focusing on physical confrontation, she had been gathering intelligence that would strike at the heart of their organization. In her command center, Elena activated a sophisticated program she had developed during her years of recovery. The screen filled with financial data, shipping manifests, and communication patterns. The cartel's strength wasn't just in its fighters. It was in its complex network of legitimate businesses, corrupt officials, and international connections. Elena had spent months mapping these relationships, finding the pressure points that could bring down their entire structure. "They think this is about force," she murmured, her fingers flying across her wheelchair's integrated keyboard. "They haven't realized it's about intelligence." A message flashed across her screen, an encrypted communication from Sarah Chen, the teenager she had saved. After moving her family to safety, Sarah had revealed herself as a brilliant hacker, offering to help Elena's cause. Now she had found something crucial, evidence linking the cartel's legitimate businesses to their illegal operations. Elena opened a secure channel to her network of disabled veterans. "Time for Phase 2, she announced. "They're expecting another physical confrontation. Let's show them a different kind of warfare." Her team responded immediately. The former, Air Force pilot, using his expertise with complex systems, began targeting the cartel's digital infrastructure. The ranger with the drone network shifted focus to gathering evidence rather than surveillance. Each member brought unique skills, shaped by their own experiences with disability. Elena's wheelchair hummed softly as she moved to her specialized workstation. The chair's enhanced systems weren't just for combat. They contained some of the most advanced cybersecurity tools available. She had designed them during her rehabilitation, turning hours of physical therapy into opportunities to develop new skills. "Their strength is their organization," she explained to her team. "So we don't just fight their soldiers, we dismantle their entire structure." The operation began with precision strikes at the cartel's financial network. Elena's programs identified suspicious transactions, following money trails through shell companies and offshore accounts. Each discovery was carefully documented and transmitted to trusted law enforcement contacts worldwide. Sarah's voice came through the secure channel. "Elena, I found their shipping schedules. They're using legitimate cargo containers to move their product. But look at this pattern." The teenager's discovery was brilliant. The cartel had been hiding their trafficking operations within normal business patterns, but Sarah had spotted the inconsistencies. Elena quickly integrated this information into her broader strategy. "Outstanding work," she praised. "Now let's use this to show them what happens when they underestimate people they consider disabled." Elena's team launched a coordinated campaign that targeted the cartel's operations at every level. The Air Force veteran used his knowledge of logistics to disrupt their supply lines. The Rangers' drones gathered evidence of illegal activities at their warehouses. Each team member contributed unique insights, shaped by their own experiences with adaptation and overcoming challenges. But the cartel wasn't going down without a fight. Elena's systems detected a sophisticated cyber attack attempting to breach her network. The attackers were good, professional hackers hired specifically to counter her electronic warfare. "They still don't understand," Elena said, a small smile playing on her lips. Her wheelchair's defensive systems activated automatically, countering the cyber assault with protocols she had developed during countless hours of preparation. Every challenge makes us stronger, more innovative. The battle shifted to the digital realm, where Elena's adaptations gave her unique advantages. Her wheelchair's integrated systems allowed her to respond to threats faster than traditional setups. The countless hours she had spent learning to work with her disability had made her think differently about problem-solving. A warning flashed. Across her screen, the cartel had traced one of her team's data taps. They were sending a strike team to eliminate what they thought was the source. But Elena had anticipated this too. "They're following a ghost," she informed her team. "All data points are mirrored and rerouted. Let them waste resources chasing shadows while we dismantle their empire." Sarah's voice crackled through the comm. "Elena, I just cracked their primary encryption. You need to see this." The files that poured onto Elena's screen were a goldmine. Complete documentation of the cartel's operation, including names of corrupt officials, locations of major facilities, and their entire financial structure. It was enough to destroy not just their local operations, but their entire organization. "This is why we win," Elena broadcast to her team. "Not because we're stronger or faster, but because we've learned to think differently. Every adaptation, every innovation we've made to deal with our disabilities has made us better at fighting this kind of battle." She began systematically distributing the intelligence to law enforcement agencies worldwide, each piece carefully documented and verified. The cartel's empire was about to face coordinated strikes on multiple continents. Through her surveillance network, Elena watched as the cartel's leadership began to panic. Their supposedly secure communications were filled with desperate attempts to contain the damage. But it was too late. Their entire structure was unraveling. They thought physical force was the only kind of power, Elena commented to her team. They never understood that our greatest strength comes from adapting, from learning to fight smarter rather than harder. The next 48 hours saw the systematic dismantling of the Espada cartel's empire. Bank accounts were frozen, shipments were seized, and arrest warrants were issued across multiple countries. Elena's wheelchair-based command center became the hub of an international operation, coordinating law enforcement actions with surgical precision. But Elena knew the cartel's leadership wouldn't go down without attempting one final desperate strike. Her systems detected multiple teams converging on Sierra Vista, heavily armed and with nothing left to lose. "Let them come," she told her team. "They still haven't learned that our disabilities aren't weaknesses, they're the source of our strength." Elena's preparations went far beyond physical defenses. Each team member was positioned to utilize their unique capabilities. The Air Force veteran's prosthetic arm now controlled a network of automated defense systems. The Ranger's wheelchair gave him superior mobility in the rough terrain where he'd positioned his drones. Sarah's computer skills had transformed the town's infrastructure into a weapon. As the cartel's strike teams entered Sierra Vista, they found themselves facing an opponent that had transformed disability into unprecedented tactical advantages. Elena's wheelchair became a mobile command center, coordinating her team's responses, while her own specialized systems controlled the battlefield's electronic infrastructure. "They see limitations," Elena broadcast to her team. "We see opportunities to innovate, to adapt, to become stronger. Show them what that means." The battle that followed wasn't just about physical confrontation. It was a demonstration of how adaptation and innovation could overcome any obstacle. Elena's team used their unique perspectives and capabilities to counter every cartel move before it could develop. As the last cartel members were taken into custody, Elena addressed her team. "Remember this moment. We won not despite our disabilities, but because of them. Every adaptation we made, every innovation we created, made us stronger than they could imagine." The sun rose over Sierra Vista, revealing a town transformed. Elena's wheelchair hummed quietly as she surveyed the aftermath. Her network of disabled veterans had proven that true strength comes not from physical capability, but from the resilience and innovation born of overcoming challenges. "We've done more than just defeat a cartel," she told her team. "We've shown the world that disability isn't a limitation. It's an opportunity to develop strengths others never imagined possible." In the months that followed, Elena's story spread, inspiring others with disabilities to recognize their own unique potential. Her methods were studied, not just for their tactical brilliance, but as an example of how adaptation and innovation could transform perceived weaknesses into extraordinary strengths. The cartel's defeat became a symbol of something greater, a demonstration that true power comes not from physical prowess, but from the resilience, creativity, and determination born of overcoming life's greatest challenges. 6 months after the fall of the Espada cartel, Elena sat in her wheelchair before a group of military veterans at the newly established Adaptive Combat Training Center in Sierra Vista. The facility, built with funds seized from cartel operations, represented something unprecedented, a place where disabled veterans could learn to transform their challenges into tactical advantages. "They thought this wheelchair made me vulnerable," Elena told the group, her voice carrying years of hard-won wisdom. "Instead, it forced me to become more innovative, more strategic, and ultimately more dangerous than I ever was before." The training center had become a beacon of hope, drawing disabled veterans from across the country, but Elena knew their work wasn't finished. Her intelligence network had detected disturbing patterns. Other criminal organizations were moving to fill the power vacuum left by the Espada cartel's collapse, which is exactly what we expected, Eleanor explained to Sarah Chen, who had become her primary technical advisor. The teenager's hacking skills had evolved into something extraordinary, enhanced by her unique perspective on problem-solving. They think the Espada cartel's mistake was tactical. They haven't realized it was philosophical. Elena's command center had evolved as well. The wheelchair-based system she had designed now served as the prototype for a new generation of adaptive and combat technology. Her experiences had proven that traditional military thinking needed to evolve. Disability wasn't a disqualification from combat roles, but an opportunity to develop new forms of warfare. An alert flashed across her tactical display, movement patterns suggesting organized crime activity along the border. But this time, Elena wasn't alone in responding. Her network of disabled veterans had grown into something unprecedented, an adaptive defense force that turned traditional military doctrine on its head. Sierra Vista was just the beginning, Elena broadcast to her team. Now we show the world what happens when you stop seeing disability as a weakness and start recognizing it as a source of innovation. The new threat came in the form of the Ghost Syndicate, an international criminal organization that had studied the Espada cartel's fall. They thought they had learned from those mistakes, bringing in tech specialists and advanced equipment. What they hadn't realized was that Elena's team had evolved far beyond the capabilities that had defeated the cartel. Elena's wheelchair hummed as she moved through the command center, its systems now integrated with a network of adaptive technology used by her entire team. Each member had transformed their own unique challenges into tactical advantages. A veteran who had lost his sight had developed echolocation systems that provided superhuman awareness of his surroundings. Another, dealing with severe PTSD, had created prediction algorithms that could identify threats before they materialized. They're still thinking in terms of overcoming disability, Eleanor observed as she reviewed the Ghost Syndicate's preparations. They haven't understood that we're not overcoming anything. We're evolving beyond traditional human limitations. The Syndicate's first move was subtle, a cyber attack targeting Sierra Vista's infrastructure, but Sarah Chen had anticipated this, using her unique perspective to develop defense systems that operated on principles the attackers couldn't comprehend. Their mistake is thinking linearly, Sarah explained as she countered the attack. Growing up different teaches you to see patterns others miss. Elena watched with pride as her protégé's systems not only repelled the attack, but turned it back on the attackers. The Ghost Syndicate's own networks began to collapse, their sophisticated technology useless against defenses designed by people whose life experiences had taught them to think differently. But the Syndicate hadn't come unprepared. Elena's sensors detected multiple teams approaching Sierra Vista, using advanced stealth technology to avoid traditional detection methods. They thought they had learned from the cartel's mistakes by bringing in better equipment and trained operators. They've upgraded their technology, Elena commented to her team, but they're still thinking like people who've never had to adapt. Show them what true innovation looks like. The response from Elena's adaptive defense force was unlike anything the Syndicate had encountered. The blind veterans' echolocation systems detected their stealth units easily. Their technology was designed to fool eyes, not evolved sonar. The PTSD veterans' prediction algorithms had already mapped out their likely strategies, allowing the team to prepare countermeasures before the Syndicate even began their operation. Elena's wheelchair became a mobile command hub, coordinating the response while demonstrating combat capabilities that redefined what was possible. The chair's enhanced systems, developed through years of adapting to challenges, operated on principles that the syndicate's traditional military training couldn't counter. Every limitation we've faced, Elena broadcast to her team as they engaged the enemy, has forced us to innovate in ways they can't understand. That's not weakness, it's evolution. The battle that followed wasn't just a demonstration of superior tactics. It was a revelation of how disability could drive innovation beyond conventional limits. Elena's team moved with coordinated precision, each member's adapted capabilities, complementing the others in ways that traditional military units couldn't match. The syndicate's teams found themselves facing opponents who had transformed their supposed disabilities into extraordinary abilities. The blind veterans' echolocation picked up their movements with uncanny accuracy. The PTSD veterans' algorithms predicted and countered their strategies before they could develop. Sarah's cyber systems shut down their communications and equipment with ease. As the last of the syndicate's forces retreated, Elena gathered her team for a debrief. "What we've created here goes beyond combat tactics," she explained. "We're showing the world that disability isn't something to overcome. It's an opportunity to evolve beyond normal human limitations." The implications of their victory spread far beyond military applications. Elena's adaptive combat training center began receiving inquiries from law enforcement agencies, security firms, and even tech companies worldwide. They all wanted to learn how to replicate her success in transforming disability into tactical advantages. "But they're still missing the point," Elena told Sarah as they reviewed the requests. "This isn't about copying our technology. It's about understanding that different abilities lead to different perspectives, and those perspectives can change everything." Elena's wheelchair hummed softly as she moved through the training center, observing as new recruits learned to transform their own unique challenges into strengths. Each person's disability presented different obstacles, but those very obstacles forced innovations that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. "The Ghost Syndicate thought they could defeat us by studying our previous victory," Elena addressed her team. "They didn't understand that we're constantly evolving, each challenge forcing us to innovate in ways they can't predict." The training center had become more than just a facility. It was an incubator for a new kind of warfare, one that recognized diversity of ability as a source of strength rather than weakness. Elena's methods were being studied not just for their tactical brilliance, but as a model for how society could better integrate and value people with disabilities. "We're not just fighting criminals," Elena explained to a new group of recruits. "We're fighting the perception that disability means limitation. Every innovation you create, every adaptation you develop, proves that different abilities lead to different kinds of strength." As the sun set over Sierra Vista, Elena reviewed the data from their latest victory. The Ghost Syndicate's defeat had sent a clear message to other criminal organizations. This territory was protected by something they couldn't understand or counter. "They keep trying to beat us by becoming stronger, faster, better equipped," Elena mused to Sarah. "They haven't realized that true innovation comes from having to think differently, from having to find new ways to accomplish things that others take for granted." The legacy of Elena's work had grown beyond her original mission of protecting her community. She had created a model for transforming disability from a perceived weakness into a source of unprecedented innovation and capability. "Remember," she told her team as they prepared for their next challenge, "every limitation you've faced, every obstacle you've had to overcome, has forced you to develop strengths that others can't imagine. That's not disability, that's evolution." The future that Elena and her team were building wasn't just about combat effectiveness. It was about proving that diversity of ability led to diversity of innovation, and that true strength came not from conforming to traditional standards, but from transforming differences into advantages that others couldn't match. A year after the Ghost Syndicate's defeat, Elena's success had drawn the attention of a far more dangerous enemy. The Shadow Coalition, a global alliance of criminal organizations, had identified her adaptive defense force as the greatest threat to their operations worldwide. But instead of seeing her methods as something to be feared, they saw an opportunity to steal and corrupt her innovations. Elena's tactical display lit up with warnings as her systems detected a massive cyber intrusion attempt. This wasn't a simple attack. It was a coordinated effort to steal the technological innovations she and her team had developed. The Shadow Coalition wanted to turn their adaptive technology against them. "They still don't understand," Eleanor told her assembled team in the command center. "Our strength isn't in the technology, it's in the mindset that created it. You can't steal adaptation, you have to live it." Sarah Chen's fingers flew across her keyboard as she tracked the intrusion attempts. "They're trying to access the neural interface designs for your wheelchair systems," she reported, "but they're missing something crucial." Eleanor smiled. The Shadow Coalition's hackers were among the best in the world, but they were looking for conventional security measures. They couldn't comprehend that Elena's systems were protected by protocols that mimicked the adaptive thinking patterns of people who had learned to navigate the world differently. "Each security layer is based on how our minds work," Elena explained. To her team, "You can't crack it unless you understand how disability forces you to think differently." But the cyber attack was just the beginning. Elena's long-range sensors detected movement across multiple borders. The Shadow Coalition was mobilizing its forces. They had studied every recording of her previous victories, analyzed every tactic, and thought they had found weaknesses to exploit. "Time to show them what true evolution looks like," Elena broadcast to her network of adaptive combat specialists. "They've studied our past. Let's show them our future." The Coalition's first wave came in the form of advanced combat drones, piloted by operators who had trained specifically to counter Elena's tactics. They expected her wheelchair systems to operate within certain parameters, based on their analysis of previous encounters. Instead, they found themselves facing something entirely new. Elena's team had continued to evolve, each member developing capabilities that went beyond traditional human limitations. The blind veteran's echolocation systems had evolved into something that could not only detect but predict movement patterns. The PTSD veteran's prediction algorithms had expanded into a full tactical awareness system that operated on an almost precognitive level. Elena's wheelchair hummed with quiet power as she coordinated the defense. The Coalition's drones found themselves countered by innovations they couldn't have anticipated. Each team member's unique perspective contributed to a defense strategy that operated outside conventional military logic. They think disability forces us to overcome limitations, Eleanor commented as another wave of drones fell to their countermeasures. They don't understand that it teaches us to transcend them entirely. But the Shadow Coalition had prepared for initial failure. Their second wave brought in something unprecedented, combat suits designed to replicate Elena's innovations. They thought they could mass-produce the advantages her team had developed through years of adaptation. Now that's interesting, Elena observed as she studied the approaching forces. They've copied our technology, but missed the fundamental principle. Show them the difference between replication and evolution. The battle that followed transformed Sierra Vista into a proving ground for two fundamentally different approaches to combat. The Coalition's forces had superior numbers and equipment that mimicked Elena's innovations, but they lacked the one thing that couldn't be replicated, the adaptive mindset that came from transforming disability into advantage. Elena's wheelchair became a command center unlike anything the Coalition had anticipated. Rather than trying to match their numbers, she coordinated her team in ways that demonstrated why true innovation couldn't be copied. Each team member's adapted capabilities worked in harmony, creating a defense strategy that operated on principles the Coalition couldn't comprehend. They're trying to fight like us without understanding why we fight differently, Elena explained as she coordinated. Another successful counterattack. Our strength isn't in what we can do, it's in how we learned to do it. The Coalition's combat suits proved ineffective against opponents who had developed their capabilities through necessity rather than imitation. The blind veterans' evolved echolocation could distinguish between the suit's mechanical movements and natural human motion, making their stealth capabilities useless. The PTSD veterans' prediction systems recognized patterns in their behavior that even the operators weren't aware of. As the battle intensified, Elena's team demonstrated why their innovations couldn't be replicated through technology alone. Each member had developed their unique capabilities through years of adapting to challenges that the Coalition's operators had never faced. Their strength came not from overcoming disability, but from being transformed by it. Every limitation we faced, Elena broadcast to her team, has forced us to think differently, to find solutions that others couldn't imagine. That's not something you can copy. It's something you have to live. The Shadow Coalition's leadership watched in frustration as their forces were systematically dismantled by opponents they had thought they understood. Their combat suits, designed to replicate Elena's innovations, proved useless against tactics that evolved faster than they could analyze. Elena's wheelchair-based command system coordinated her team with fluid precision, each member's adapted capabilities complementing the others in ways that the Coalition's rigid military structure couldn't match. The battle became a demonstration of why true innovation couldn't be stolen or replicated. It had to be earned through experience and necessity. They wanted our technology, Elena observed as the last of the Coalition's forces retreated. They never understood that the technology is just a tool. Our real strength is in how disability has taught us to think differently. The aftermath of the battle brought a new level of recognition to Elena's methods. Military strategists worldwide began to understand that disability wasn't a limitation to be overcome, but a catalyst for innovation that could transform the future of warfare. But this isn't just about military applications, Elena explained to a gathering of international observers. What we've created here is a model for how society can benefit from different abilities and perspectives. Every innovation we've developed came from having to think differently about problems that others take for granted. The Adaptive Combat Training Center expanded its mission, becoming a hub for innovation that went beyond military applications. Elena's team began working with technology companies, medical researchers, and educational institutions to show how adaptive thinking could revolutionize multiple fields. Our greatest strength, Elena told a new group of recruits, isn't in what we can't do. It's in how we learn to do things differently. That's the kind of innovation that changes the world. The Shadow Coalition's defeat marked the end of conventional challenges to Elena's territory, but it represented the beginning of something far more significant. She had proven that disability could drive innovation beyond normal human limitations, creating capabilities that couldn't be replicated through technology alone. As the sun set on another day at the training center, Elena watched her team working with new recruits, each person discovering how their unique challenges could lead to unprecedented innovations. The future they were building wasn't just about defense or combat. It was about showing the world that different abilities led to different kinds of strength, and that true evolution came from embracing those differences rather than trying to overcome them. Remember, she told her assembled team, every challenge you've faced, every adaptation you've had to make, has forced you to innovate in ways that others can't imagine. That's not disability. That's the future of human potential. The legacy of their victory would extend far beyond the defeat of a single enemy. Elena and her team had demonstrated that the greatest innovations come not from trying to overcome limitations, but from allowing those limitations to force new ways of thinking and problem-solving. In doing so, they had created something that couldn't be stolen or replicated, a new understanding of human potential that would continue to evolve and inspire long into the future. 2 years after the Shadow Coalition's defeat, Elena's vision had expanded far beyond the borders of Sierra Vista. The Adaptive Combat Training Center had evolved into something unprecedented. The Global Adaptive Innovation Institute, a worldwide network of facilities where people with disabilities could transform their unique challenges into groundbreaking innovations. The Institute's main campus in Sierra Vista hummed with activity as Elena's wheelchair glided through its advanced research facilities. Here, veterans and civilians alike worked to develop technologies and methodologies that redefined what was possible. But unlike traditional research centers, every innovation was born from personal experience with disability. The world thought we needed fixing, Elena addressed a gathering of international delegates. What they didn't understand was that our different abilities weren't problems to solve, they were catalysts for evolution. Her words carried weight. The Institute had become famous for innovations that transcended their military origins. A quadriplegic researcher had developed neural interface technology that revolutionized space exploration. A team of autistic programmers had created artificial intelligence systems that operated on entirely new principles of pattern recognition. Sarah Chen, now heading the Institute's cybersecurity division, approached Elena with urgent news. "We've detected something unprecedented," she reported, "a new kind of threat that's specifically targeting adaptive technology users worldwide." Elena's tactical display lit up with data streams showing a pattern of attacks against people using adaptive technologies. Someone was attempting to turn their innovations against them, but in a way that revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of how these technologies worked. They still haven't learned, Elena observed, studying the attack. Patterns. You can't weaponize adaptation. It's not about the technology, it's about the mindset that creates it. The attacks were coming from a new entity calling itself the Evolution Directive, a shadowy organization that believed they could force human evolution through technological superiority. They saw Elena's innovations as the key to their vision, but they fundamentally misunderstood the source of her success. They think they can shortcut the process, Elena explained to her global network of adaptive combat specialists. They don't understand that our innovations come from necessity, from living with challenges that forced us to think differently. The Evolution Directive's first major move was subtle but devastating. They attempted to hijack adaptive technologies worldwide, thinking they could control the very tools that had made Elena's team so effective. What they didn't expect was that each piece of adaptive technology was as unique as the person who had developed it. Show them why true evolution can't be stolen, Elena broadcast to her network. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the globe, adaptive technology users demonstrated why their innovations couldn't be turned against them. A blind architect whose echolocation systems had revolutionized urban design showed how his technology responded to his unique way of perceiving space. A deaf musician whose neural interfaces had created new forms of sound composition, proved how her innovations were inseparable from her experience of music through vibration. Elena's wheelchair hummed with quiet power as she coordinated the global response. The Evolution Directive had brought significant resources to their attack, but they faced something they couldn't comprehend. A worldwide network of innovators whose strength came from transforming their supposed limitations into unprecedented capabilities. Every piece of technology we create, Eleanor explained to her team, is shaped by our experience of living differently. You can't separate the innovation from the journey that created it. The Evolution Directive's attacks became more desperate as their efforts failed. They launched a coordinated assault on the Institute itself, thinking that if they could capture the source of Elena's innovations, they could replicate her success. What they found instead was a defense system unlike anything they had encountered. Every security measure, every countermeasure, operated on principles born from different ways of experiencing and interacting with the world. They're trying to fight us on our terms without understanding what those terms mean, Eleanor observed, as another wave of attackers failed to breach their defenses. Show them why adaptation can't be forced. The battle that followed wasn't just about protecting the Institute. It was about demonstrating why true innovation couldn't be stolen or replicated. Each defender used their unique perspectives and capabilities in ways that the Evolution Directive's forces couldn't predict or counter. A team of veterans with PTSD had developed a security system that operated on principles of hyper-awareness and pattern recognition. Wheelchair users had created mobility systems that transformed traditional combat spaces into three-dimensional battlegrounds. Each innovation reflected not just technological advancement, but a fundamentally different way of approaching challenges. They think disability makes us weaker, Elena broadcast to her defenders. Show them how it makes us evolve beyond conventional limitations. The Evolution Directive's forces found themselves facing opponents who didn't just think differently. They experienced and interacted with the world in ways that couldn't be replicated through technology alone. Each defender's capabilities had been developed through years of adapting to challenges that their attackers had never faced. Eleanor's wheelchair-based command system coordinated the defense with fluid precision, demonstrating why their innovations couldn't be separated from the experiences that created them. The battle became a testament to how different abilities led to different kinds of strength. "Your mistake," Elena addressed the Evolution Directive's leadership through their own communication channels, "was thinking you could force evolution. True evolution comes from necessity, from having to adapt to challenges that others haven't faced." As the last of the Evolution Directive's forces retreated, the Institute emerged stronger than ever. The attack had proven what Elena had always known, that their greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in how disability had taught them to think and innovate differently. "This is why we succeed," Elena told her assembled team afterward. "Every challenge we face, every adaptation we make, forces us to evolve in ways that others can't replicate. That's not weakness. That's the future of human potential." The Institute's mission expanded in the wake of their victory. Elena's team began working with organizations worldwide to show how adaptive thinking could revolutionize every field, from medicine to space exploration to environmental conservation. "What we've created here," Elena explained to a new generation of innovators, "isn't just about overcoming limitations. It's about recognizing that different abilities lead to different kinds of innovation, and that true evolution comes from embracing those differences rather than trying to eliminate them." The legacy of their victory extended far beyond defeating a single enemy. Elena and her team had demonstrated that the future of human evolution wasn't about eliminating differences or forcing conformity. It was about recognizing how diverse abilities and perspectives could drive innovation beyond conventional boundaries. As the sun set over the Institute's campus, Elena watched as teams of researchers and innovators continued their work, each person's unique challenges driving new discoveries and capabilities. The future they were building wasn't just about adaptation or survival. It was about showing the world that true evolution came from embracing different ways of experiencing and interacting with reality. "Remember," she told her global network, "every limitation you've faced, every obstacle you've had to overcome, has forced you to innovate in ways that others can't imagine. That's not disability. That's the cutting edge of human potential." The Institute had become more than just a training center or research facility. It was a model for how society could evolve by embracing different abilities and perspectives. Elena's vision had transformed from protecting a single town to showing the world that true strength came not from conforming to conventional standards, but from allowing different abilities to drive innovation beyond normal human limitations. "Our journey isn't over," Elena addressed her team as they prepared for future challenges. "Every day, we prove that disability isn't something to overcome. It's a catalyst for evolution that pushes the boundaries of what's possible. That's a legacy that will continue to grow and inspire long after we're gone." 5 years after establishing the Global Adaptive Innovation Institute, Elena faced her greatest challenge yet. A new organization called the Supremacy Initiative had emerged, comprised of wealthy elitists who saw disability as a weakness to be eliminated from the human gene pool. They viewed Elena's work as a threat to their vision of human perfection. and were determined to prove that conventional ability would always triumph over adaptation. The initiative's leader, Dr. Victor Kane, was a renowned geneticist who had publicly denounced Elena's institute as promoting weakness. What made him particularly dangerous was his understanding of adaptive technology. He didn't seek to steal it, but to prove it inferior. "He's different from our previous opponents," Elena explained to her global network. "He doesn't want our innovations. He wants to prove they shouldn't exist." The initiative's first attack came in the form of a global media campaign, releasing doctored footage that appeared to show adaptive technology failures. They attempted to undermine public confidence in the innovations that had transformed millions of lives. But Eleanor had anticipated this approach. "They think they can shame us into hiding," she addressed her worldwide network of innovators. "Show them how disability taught us to rise above society's expectations." The Institute's response was unprecedented. Rather than simply defending their technology, they launched a campaign that showcased how different abilities led to different kinds of innovation. A team of deaf architects demonstrated how their unique perception of space had revolutionized urban design. Autistic researchers showed how their pattern recognition abilities had transformed artificial intelligence. "Our strength isn't improving. We can do things their way," Elena broadcast to her network. "It's in showing how our differences create possibilities they never imagined." The Supremacy Initiative escalated their attacks, launching a coordinated assault on adaptive technology infrastructure worldwide. They expected to find weaknesses in systems designed for people they considered inferior. Instead, they encountered innovation beyond their comprehension. Elena's wheelchair hummed with quiet power as she coordinated the global defense. The initiative's forces found themselves facing security systems that operated on principles they couldn't understand, designed by people whose different abilities had forced them to think in ways that transcended conventional logic. "You assume we adapt our technology to compensate for weakness," Eleanor addressed Kane through his own communication channels. "You haven't realized that our adaptations have taken us beyond what you consider strength." The battle shifted to the virtual realm, where the initiative attempted to prove that conventional programming would always be superior to adaptive systems. What they found instead was an ecosystem of technology that operated on entirely new principles, developed by people whose different ways of processing information had created unprecedented approaches to computing. Sarah Chen, leading the Institute's cyber defense, demonstrated why neurodiversity in technology development created stronger, more innovative systems. "They think in straight lines," she explained as she countered another attack. "We think in patterns they can't even perceive." The initiative's frustration grew as each attempt to prove adaptive technology inferior only demonstrated its superiority. Kane's forces found themselves consistently outmaneuvered by opponents whose different abilities had forced them to develop strategies beyond conventional military doctrine. "You're fighting the last war," Elena told Kane as his forces retreated from another failed assault. "We're not trying to match your capabilities. We've evolved beyond them." The conflict reached its climax when Kane launched a desperate attack on the Institute itself, bringing his most advanced technology and highly trained operators. He believed that in direct combat, conventional ability would prove superior to adaptation. Elena's response transformed the Institute's campus into a demonstration of why diversity of ability created stronger, more innovative defense systems. Every aspect of the facility had been designed to work with different ways of perceiving and interacting with the environment. "Show them what true evolution looks like," Elena broadcast to her defenders. "Show them why adaptation isn't about overcoming disability. It's about transcending conventional limitations." The battle that followed became a testament to how different abilities created different kinds of strength. Blind defenders used echolocation systems that made stealth technology useless. Wheelchair users demonstrated mobility systems that transformed three-dimensional space in ways Kane's forces couldn't counter. Elena's wheelchair-based command system coordinated the defense with fluid precision, demonstrating why adaptive innovation couldn't be matched by conventional technology. Each defender's unique capabilities worked in harmony, creating a defense strategy that operated on principles beyond Kane's understanding. "Your fundamental mistake," Elena addressed Kane as his forces fell into disarray, "was thinking that different means inferior. You never understood that our differences force us to innovate beyond what you consider possible." The initiative's defeat marked a turning point in how society viewed disability and adaptation. Kane's very public failure proved that different abilities didn't create weakness. They drove innovation beyond conventional boundaries. "This victory isn't just about defending our technology," Eleanor told her global network. "It's about showing the world that human potential isn't limited to one kind of ability. True evolution comes from diversity of experience and perspective." The Institute's influence expanded dramatically in the wake of their victory. Governments and organizations worldwide began to recognize that different abilities created different kinds of innovation, and that true progress came from embracing these differences rather than trying to eliminate them. Elena's vision had evolved from protecting a single town to transforming how the world viewed human potential. The Institute became a model for how society could evolve by recognizing that every kind of ability brought unique insights and innovations. "We've proven that disability isn't something to cure or overcome," Elena addressed a gathering of world leaders. "It's a catalyst for innovation that pushes the boundaries of what's possible. Every limitation we face forces us to think differently, to find solutions that others couldn't imagine." The Institute's legacy continued to grow as new generations of innovators demonstrated how their different abilities led to breakthroughs in every field. Medical research, space exploration, environmental conservation, all transformed by perspectives that came from experiencing the world differently. "Remember," Elena told a group of young innovators, "every challenge you face, every adaptation you make, forces you to evolve in ways that others can't comprehend. That's not weakness. That's the cutting edge of human potential." As the sun set on another day at the Institute, Elena watched as teams of researchers and developers continued their work, each person's unique challenges driving new discoveries and capabilities. The future they were building wasn't just about adaptation or survival. It was about showing the world that true evolution came from embracing different ways of experiencing and interacting with reality. "Our journey has just begun," Eleanor addressed her global network. "Every day we prove that disability isn't something to overcome. It's a catalyst for evolution that pushes the boundaries of what's possible. That's a legacy that will continue to grow and inspire long after we're gone. The Institute had become more than just a research facility or training center. It was a beacon of hope, showing that true strength came not from conforming to conventional standards, but from allowing different abilities to drive innovation beyond normal human limitations. "This is the future we're building," Elena told her team as they prepared for new challenges. A world where every kind of ability is recognized as a source of unique innovation and strength. That's not just adaptation. That's the next step in human evolution. The Global Adaptive Innovation Institute stood as a testament to Elena's vision, proof that the greatest innovations come not from trying to eliminate differences, but from recognizing how those differences create new possibilities. Her legacy would continue to inspire and transform long into the future, showing the world that true evolution comes from embracing every kind of human potential. 10 years had passed since Elena's first stand against the cartel in Sierra Vista. The Global Adaptive Innovation Institute had expanded beyond Earth, establishing humanity's first space research station designed specifically for people with disabilities. The Horizon Station orbited 300 miles above Earth, its revolutionary design proving that space exploration didn't require conventional physical capabilities. It needed innovative thinking born from diverse experiences. Elena's wheelchair glided smoothly through the station's zero-gravity corridors, its advanced systems perfectly adapted to the space environment. The station hadn't just accommodated disabilities, it had been built around them, creating new possibilities that traditional space programs had never imagined. Traditional space programs focused on selecting people who fit their systems, Elena explained to a group of young astronaut candidates with various disabilities. "We built systems that work with different kinds of human capability. That's why we're achieving things they never thought possible." The station's innovations were revolutionary. Blind crew members navigated using advanced echolocation systems that provided better spatial awareness in space than visual sight. Deaf crew members had developed new ways of detecting and interpreting spacecraft vibrations, identifying potential problems before they became critical. Sarah Chen, now the station's chief innovation officer, approached Elena with excitement. "The quantum communication array is ready," she announced. "The team of autistic researchers has created something unprecedented, a way of communicating across space that operates on entirely new principles." The array was a perfect example of how different ways of processing information could lead to breakthrough innovations. The autistic researchers' unique pattern recognition abilities had allowed them to perceive quantum relationships that neurotypical scientists had missed. Space exploration was always about pushing boundaries, Elena addressed her crew. But we're not just pushing them, we're redrawing them entirely. The station's success had attracted attention from unexpected quarters. A coalition of traditional space agencies had approached the Institute, not to compete, but to learn. They had finally recognized that diversity of ability led to diversity of innovation. But with success came new challenges. A private space corporation called Stellar Dominion saw the station's achievements as a threat to their monopoly on space technology. Their CEO, Marcus Sterling, believed that space exploration should be reserved for those who met traditional, physical standards. "They're about to learn what we've proven time and again," Elena told her crew as Stellar Dominion's ships approached the station. Different abilities don't just overcome challenges, they transcend them. Sterling had brought his company's most advanced spacecraft, expecting to demonstrate the superiority of traditional space technology. Instead, his crews encountered innovations they couldn't comprehend. The station's defense systems, designed by people with various disabilities, operated on principles that transcended conventional space warfare doctrine. Blunt crew members used their enhanced spatial awareness systems to track enemy movements with unprecedented accuracy. Wheelchair users, already adapted to three-dimensional thinking, proved exceptionally skilled at zero-gravity combat maneuvers. "You're fighting with old assumptions," Elena broadcasted to Sterling's forces. "We're not trying to match your capabilities. We've evolved beyond them." The battle that followed transformed near-Earth space into a demonstration of why adaptive innovation would define humanity's future in space. Sterling's forces found themselves consistently outmaneuvered by defenders whose different abilities had created entirely new approaches to space operations. Elena's wheelchair-based command system, now fully adapted for space operations, coordinated the defense with fluid precision. Each crew member's unique capabilities worked in harmony, creating defense strategies that operated on principles beyond Sterling's comprehension. "Your fundamental error," Elena addressed Sterling as his forces retreated, "was thinking space exploration should be limited to one kind of human capability. You never understood that different abilities create different kinds of innovation. And space needs all of them." The station's successful defense marked a turning point in humanity's approach to space exploration. Sterling's defeat proved that the future in space wouldn't be defined by traditional physical capabilities, but by the innovation that came from diverse human experiences. "This victory isn't just about defending our station," Elena told her crew. "It's about showing that space exploration needs every kind of human ability. The challenges of space require innovation that can only come from different ways of experiencing and interacting with reality." The Horizon Station's influence expanded dramatically. Space agencies worldwide began actively recruiting people with disabilities, recognizing that their unique perspectives and adaptations could drive space innovation beyond conventional boundaries. Elena's vision had evolved from Earth-based innovation to transforming humanity's future in space. The station became a model for how space exploration could advance by embracing different abilities and perspectives. "Space exploration has always been about overcoming human limitations," Elena addressed a gathering of International Space Agency leaders. "But we've proven that different abilities aren't limitations. They're catalysts for innovations that redefine what's possible in space." The station's legacy continued to grow as new generations of disabled astronauts and researchers demonstrated how their unique perspectives led to breakthroughs in space technology. From spacecraft design to deep space communication, every field was transformed by innovations born from different ways of experiencing and interacting with the space environment. "Remember," Elena told a new group of recruits, "every challenge you faced on Earth, every adaptation you've had to make, has prepared you to innovate in ways that traditional space programs never imagined. That's not disability, that's the future of human space exploration." As the Earth turned slowly below the station, Eleanor watched her crew continue their groundbreaking work. The future they were building wasn't just about proving that disability didn't prevent space exploration. It was about showing that different abilities were essential to humanity's future among the stars. Our journey into space has just begun, Elena addressed her crew. Every day we prove that the final frontier needs every kind of human ability. The challenges of space exploration require innovation that can only come from diverse human experiences and perspectives. The Horizon Station had become more than just a space research facility. It was a beacon showing that humanity's future in space would be defined not by conforming to traditional standards, but by embracing the innovation that came from different human capabilities. This is the future we're building in space, Elena told her team as they prepared for new missions, a future where every kind of human ability contributes to our journey to the stars. That's not just adaptation, that's the next step in human evolution. The station stood as a testament to Elena's expanded vision, proof that the greatest space innovations would come not from limiting who could explore space, but from recognizing how different human abilities created new possibilities for humanity's future among the stars. Her legacy would continue to transform space exploration, showing that humanity's journey to the stars required every kind of human potential. 15 years after that first confrontation in Sierra Vista, Elena found herself back where it all began. The small desert town had transformed into an international symbol of human potential, home to both the Global Adaptive Innovation Institute and the world's first fully accessible city. But today marked something even more significant: the launch of Project Genesis, humanity's first interstellar mission crewed entirely by people with disabilities. The launch facility, built on the outskirts of Sierra Vista, represented everything Elena had fought to prove. Her wheelchair hummed quietly as she moved through the command center, observing as her diverse crew made final preparations for a journey that would redefine human potential. "They said we'd never survive in space," Elena addressed the assembled crowd of international media and dignitaries. "Now we're about to prove that different abilities are essential for humanity's journey to the stars." The Genesis spacecraft itself was a testament to adaptive innovation. Every system, every control interface, had been designed to work with different types of human capability. Blind pilots would navigate using quantum sensors that perceived space-time distortions. Deaf engineers had developed new ways of monitoring ship systems through vibration patterns. Crew members with various mobility challenges had created revolutionary solutions for long-term space habitation. Sarah Chen, now Director of Interstellar Operations, approached with the latest mission updates. "The Quantum Navigation Array has mapped our course through subspace," she reported. "The autistic research team has discovered patterns in space-time that traditional sensors never detected." Elena's tactical display showed the incredible complexity of their planned journey. The mission would take them beyond the solar system, using revolutionary propulsion technology developed by researchers, whose different ways of thinking had allowed them to see possibilities others had missed. Traditional space programs focused on overcoming the challenges of space, Elena told her crew. "We've learned to work with them in ways they never imagined." But not everyone celebrated their achievement. A radical group called Pure Earth emerged, claiming that sending disabled astronauts on humanity's first interstellar mission was a mistake that would doom the species' future in space. They think we're taking humanity's greatest journey with its weakest members, Elena broadcast to her global network. Let's show them why adaptation makes us stronger than they can imagine. Pure Earth's attack came just hours before launch. They had infiltrated the facility with conventional military forces, believing that disabled defenders would be easy to overwhelm. Instead, they encountered defense systems that operated on principles they couldn't comprehend. Elena's wheelchair-based command system coordinated a defense that demonstrated why adaptive innovation had transcended traditional military capability. Blind security officers used enhanced perception systems to track attackers through walls. Deaf defenders detected infiltrators through subtle vibration patterns in the facility's structure. You're still thinking in terms of normal human limitation, Elena addressed Pure Earth's leader through their own communication channels. We stopped thinking that way years ago. The battle for the launch facility became a final demonstration of why different abilities created different kinds of strength. Pure Earth's forces found themselves consistently outmaneuvered by defenders whose adaptations had created capabilities beyond conventional human limits. Elena's own combat systems had evolved far beyond their original design. Her wheelchair moved with fluid precision through the facility, its advanced technology working in perfect harmony with her years of adaptive combat experience. Your fundamental mistake, Elena told the captured Pure Earth forces, was thinking disability makes us weaker. You never understood that it forces us to become stronger in ways you can't imagine. With the facility secured, the Genesis launch proceeded as planned. As the massive spacecraft rose on a column of blue flame, Elena addressed the worldwide audience watching the historic moment. This launch represents more than humanity's first step to the stars, she declared. It proves that human potential isn't limited by ability. It's expanded by diversity of human experience and perception. The Genesis mission marked the beginning of a new era in human evolution. As the ship disappeared into the depths of space, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from a small desert town to the threshold of interstellar space. We didn't overcome our disabilities, she told a gathering of young innovators at the Institute. We proved that different abilities create different kinds of innovation, and humanity needs all of them to reach its full potential. The impact of their achievement rippled across society. Schools, businesses, and institutions worldwide began transforming their approach to disability, recognizing that different abilities led to different kinds of innovation, essential for human progress. Elena's vision had evolved from protecting a single town to transforming humanity's understanding of its own potential. The Institute and Genesis mission stood as proof that true strength came not from conforming to a single standard of ability, but from embracing the innovation that came from diverse human experiences. Remember, she told a new generation of adaptive innovators, every challenge you face, every adaptation you make, pushes the boundaries of what's possible. That's not disability. That's the future of human potential. The legacy of their journey extended far beyond space exploration. Elena and her team had demonstrated that humanity's future depended not on eliminating differences, but on recognizing how those differences created new possibilities for human achievement. Our mission isn't just about reaching the stars, Elena addressed her crew as Genesis transmitted its first signals from interstellar space. It's about showing that every kind of human ability has a role in humanity's future. The Institute continued to grow, its influence spreading across Earth and into space. New generations of innovators proved daily that different abilities created different kinds of breakthroughs, essential for human advancement. "This is the future we've built," Elena told her assembled team, "a future where every kind of human ability contributes to our evolution as a species. That's not just adaptation, that's the next chapter in human history." As she watched the sun set over Sierra Vista one last time, Elena reflected on the transformation she had witnessed, from a small desert town threatened by a cartel to the launching point for humanity's greatest journey. Her legacy would continue to inspire and transform long into the future, proving that true human potential emerged not from conformity, but from the infinite variety of human ability and experience. Our journey began with standing up to those who underestimated us. Elena addressed her final gathering at the Institute. It led us to prove that different abilities don't limit human potential. They expand it in ways we're only beginning to understand. The story of Elena Martinez had become legend, not just for her victories in combat, but for showing the world that disability wasn't a limitation to be overcome. It was a catalyst for innovation that pushed the boundaries of human achievement beyond conventional limits. "This isn't the end of our story," she told her successors as she prepared to step down from leadership. "It's the beginning of humanity's understanding that our differences don't make us weaker, they make us capable of achievements beyond imagination." The sun rose on a new era of human potential, one where different abilities weren't seen as challenges to overcome, but as essential elements of human progress. Elena's legacy would continue to transform the world, showing that true evolution came not from eliminating differences, but from recognizing how those differences created possibilities that would carry humanity into a future beyond imagination. 20 years after the Genesis launch, humanity received its first signals from a potentially habitable exoplanet. The discovery came not from traditional space telescopes, but from a revolutionary detection system developed by Maya Martinez, Elena's adopted daughter. Born without arms, Maya had created neural interfaces that allowed her to perceive astronomical data through direct sensory experience, detecting patterns that conventional observers had missed. Elena's wheelchair glided through the new quantum observatory, built atop the mountains overlooking Sierra Vista. The facility represented the next evolution of her vision, a place where different abilities created new ways of understanding the universe itself. Traditional astronomy relied on visual observation, Maya explained to a group of visiting scientists, but the universe speaks in more languages than light. My inability to manipulate traditional telescopes forced me to find new ways of listening to the cosmos. The discovery had sparked a new space race, but not one based on national pride or military power. The competition now centered on which research team could develop the most innovative approaches to understanding alien environments. Teams with diverse abilities led the way, their unique perspectives creating breakthrough after breakthrough. Elena watched with pride as Maya coordinated the global research effort. Her daughter had taken adaptive innovation beyond anything Elena had imagined, proving that the next generation would push boundaries even further. They said I couldn't be an astronomer without arms, Maya addressed her team. Now we're discovering worlds that traditional methods couldn't detect. Our different abilities don't just overcome limitations, they reveal possibilities others can't perceive. But the breakthrough attracted unwanted attention. A secretive organization called the Evolutionary Vanguard emerged, claiming that such discoveries should be controlled by normal humans. They saw the success of disabled scientists as a threat to their vision of human advancement. They still cling to old definitions of human capability, Elena told her global network. Show them how different abilities create different kinds of understanding, and humanity needs all of them to comprehend the cosmos. The Vanguard's attack came through both conventional and cyber warfare. They expected to easily overcome what they saw as vulnerable researchers. Instead, they encountered defense systems that operated on principles beyond their comprehension. Maya's neural interfaces didn't just detect astronomical phenomena, they created new ways of perceiving and responding to threats. Her team of disabled researchers had developed security systems that worked with their unique capabilities, creating defenses that conventional attacks couldn't breach. Elena's wheelchair-based command systems had evolved into quantum-linked control centers, coordinating global defense networks with unprecedented precision. Each defender's different abilities contributed to a security framework that transcended traditional military doctrine. Your error, Eleanor addressed the Vanguard's leadership through quantum channels, is thinking the future belongs to one kind of human capability. The cosmos requires every form of human perception and understanding. The battle for the observatory became a demonstration of why different abilities created different kinds of innovation. The Vanguard's forces found themselves consistently outmaneuvered by defenders whose unique perspectives had created capabilities beyond conventional human limits. Maya's neural interfaces proved particularly effective, allowing her to coordinate defense systems with thought alone. Her inability to use traditional controls had led to the development of direct neural links that provided superior reaction time and precision. You think you're fighting against human weakness, Maya told the captured Vanguard forces. You're actually fighting against human evolution, the kind that comes from having to find new ways to interact with reality. With the facility secured, Maya's team returned to their groundbreaking work. The signals from the exoplanet revealed patterns that suggested not just habitability, but the possibility of alien life, patterns that only their unique methods could detect. This discovery isn't just about finding new worlds, Elena addressed the global scientific community. It's about proving that understanding the universe requires every kind of human perception and ability. The impact of their achievement transformed humanity's approach to space exploration and scientific research. Institutions worldwide began actively recruiting researchers with disabilities, recognizing that different abilities created different kinds of scientific insight. Maya's vision expanded beyond her mother's original dream. She began developing neural interface technology that could allow anyone to experience the universe through different forms of perception, proving that disability didn't just drive innovation, it created new ways of understanding reality itself. Remember, Maya told her team of young researchers, every challenge you face, every adaptation you make, doesn't just solve problems. It reveals aspects of the universe that others can't perceive. That's not disability. That's the future. of human understanding. The observatory became more than a research facility. It became a symbol of how different abilities created different kinds of knowledge essential for comprehending the cosmos. Maya's team continued to make discoveries that traditional methods couldn't achieve, proving that true scientific advancement required diverse human perspectives and capabilities. Our mission isn't just about finding new worlds, Maya addressed, a gathering of international scientists. It's about showing that understanding the universe requires every kind of human ability and perception. Elena watched with pride as her daughter carried their legacy forward, transforming it in ways she had never imagined. Maya hadn't just adapted to her disability. She had used it to revolutionize humanity's understanding of the cosmos. "This is the future we dreamed of," Elena told her daughter as they watched the stars together. A future where different abilities don't just overcome challenges, they reveal new dimensions of reality. The observatory stood as a testament to their expanded vision, proof that the greatest scientific discoveries would come not from limiting who could explore the cosmos, but from recognizing how different human abilities created new ways of understanding the universe. "Our journey began with proving we could defend ourselves," Maya told her team as they prepared for new discoveries. "Now we're proving that understanding the cosmos requires every kind of human perception and ability. That's not just adaptation, that's the key to comprehending the infinite." As signals continued to arrive from distant worlds, Elena and Maya's legacy continued to transform human knowledge and potential. They had shown that true understanding came not from conforming to one way of perceiving reality, but from embracing the infinite variety of human ability and experience. "This isn't just about space exploration," Elena addressed her final gathering at the observatory. "It's about proving that human understanding of the universe depends on our differences, because every kind of ability reveals different aspects of cosmic reality." The stars shone brightly over Sierra Vista, their light reaching Earth in ways that only differently abled observers could fully perceive. Elena and Maya's story had become legend, not just for overcoming challenges, but for proving that different abilities created different kinds of knowledge essential for humanity's understanding of the infinite cosmos. 25 years after Maya's groundbreaking discovery, humanity stood on the brink of its greatest transformation. The neural interfaces she had developed hadn't just revolutionized astronomy, they had opened a door to a new form of human consciousness. Elena's wheelchair glided through the Consciousness Evolution Center, built beneath the Quantum Observatory, where researchers with various disabilities were pioneering ways to expand human perception beyond physical limitations. "We started by proving disability didn't limit human potential," Elena addressed a gathering of global leaders. "Now we're showing that different abilities reveal aspects of reality that traditional human consciousness can't perceive." Masdite, the center, had made an extraordinary discovery. The neural interfaces, originally designed to help Maya overcome her physical limitations, had revealed that human consciousness could directly interact with quantum fields. Those whose bodies functioned differently were proving uniquely capable of accessing these new dimensions of reality. Traditional science focused on physical observation, Maya explained to her research team. But consciousness isn't limited by physical form. Our different ways of experiencing reality have revealed pathways to understanding the universe that conventional perception can't access. The breakthrough came when a group of researchers with various disabilities discovered they could perceive quantum entanglement directly through the neural interfaces. Their unique neurological patterns, shaped by years of adapting to different abilities, allowed them to experience reality at its most fundamental level. Lisa Chen, Sarah's daughter, born with cerebral palsy, had developed a way to communicate across quantum fields instantaneously. Her different neural pathways had revealed patterns in quantum communication that traditional scientists had missed completely. They said, "My brain worked wrong," Lisa told her team as they prepared for their most ambitious experiment yet. "Now we're proving that different neural patterns create different ways of understanding reality, and humanity needs all of them to evolve." But this evolution faced resistance from an unexpected quarter. A group calling themselves the human purists emerged, claiming that quantum consciousness would destroy traditional human identity. They saw the expansion of human perception as a threat to what they considered natural human existence. "They fear what they don't understand," Eleanor broadcast to her global network. "Show them how different forms of consciousness create different kinds of truth, and humanity needs every kind to comprehend its full potential." The purists' attack targeted the quantum communication network that Lisa had developed. They expected to find weakness in systems designed by someone whose brain functioned differently. Instead, they encountered defenses that operated beyond conventional reality. Lisa's quantum interfaces didn't just communicate. They created new ways of perceiving and responding to threats across multiple dimensions of reality. Her team of researchers had developed security systems that worked with their unique neurological patterns, creating defenses that conventional attacks couldn't comprehend. Elena's wheelchair-based command systems had evolved into quantum consciousness hubs, coordinating global defense networks through direct mental connection. Each defender's different neural patterns contributed to a security framework that transcended physical limitations. "Your fundamental error," Elena addressed the purist leadership through quantum channels, "is thinking human consciousness should be limited to one form of perception. The universe requires every kind of awareness to be fully understood." The battle for the center became a demonstration of why different forms of consciousness created different kinds of power. The purists found themselves facing defenders whose unique neurological patterns had created capabilities beyond conventional human understanding. Lisa's quantum interfaces proved particularly powerful, allowing her to coordinate defense systems through direct consciousness manipulation. Her different neural pathways had led to the development of mental capabilities that provided superior strategic awareness across multiple dimensions of reality. "You think you're protecting humanity," Lisa told the defeated purists. "You're actually fighting against human evolution, the kind that comes from having to find new ways to experience consciousness itself." With the center secured, Lisa's team returned to their groundbreaking work. Their quantum consciousness interfaces revealed patterns in reality that suggested not just new dimensions of existence, but the possibility of transcending physical limitations entirely. This discovery isn't just about expanding human consciousness, Elena addressed the global scientific community. It's about proving that understanding reality requires every kind of human awareness and perception. The impact of their achievement transformed humanity's approach to consciousness and reality itself. Institutions worldwide began actively seeking individuals with different neurological patterns, recognizing that different forms of consciousness created different kinds of insight into the nature of existence. Lisa's vision expanded beyond Maya's original breakthrough. She began developing quantum consciousness technology that could allow anyone to experience reality through different forms of awareness, proving that neurological differences didn't just drive innovation, they created new ways of understanding existence itself. Remember, Lisa told her team of consciousness researchers, every different way your mind works, every unique pattern of thought you develop doesn't just solve problems, it reveals aspects of reality that others can't perceive. That's not disability. That's the future of human consciousness. The center became more than a research facility. It became a symbol of how different forms of consciousness created different kinds of knowledge, essential for understanding the true nature of reality. Lisa's team continued to make discoveries that traditional consciousness couldn't achieve, proving that true evolution required diverse human perspectives and awareness. Our mission isn't just about expanding consciousness, Lisa addressed a gathering of global consciousness researchers. It's about showing that understanding reality requires every kind of human awareness and perception. Elena watched with pride as this new generation carried their legacy forward, transforming it in ways she had never imagined. They hadn't just adapted to their differences. They had used them to revolutionize humanity's understanding of consciousness itself. This is the evolution we dreamed of, Elena told Lisa as they observed quantum fields together through their enhanced consciousness. A future where different forms of awareness don't just overcome limitations, they reveal new dimensions of existence. The center stood as a testament to their expanded vision, proof that the greatest breakthroughs in human consciousness would come not from limiting who could explore reality, but from recognizing how different forms of awareness created new ways of understanding existence. Our journey began with proving physical limitations couldn't define us, Lisa told her team as they prepared for new consciousness explorations. Now we're proving that understanding reality requires every kind of human awareness. That's not just adaptation, that's the key to transcending human limitations entirely. As their quantum consciousness network expanded across the globe, Elena's legacy continued to transform human potential and understanding. They had shown that true comprehension came not from conforming to one way of experiencing reality, but from embracing the infinite variety of human consciousness and perception. This isn't just about expanding human awareness, Elena addressed her final gathering at the center. It's about proving that human evolution depends on our differences, because every kind of consciousness reveals different aspects of ultimate reality. The quantum fields pulsed with patterns that only differently conscious observers could fully perceive. Their story had become legend, not just for overcoming physical limitations, but for proving that different forms of consciousness created different kinds of awareness essential for humanity's evolution beyond traditional existence. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload. From us,